Alrighty, so it is July 29th. That means it is trade deadline time. And once again, like I said when we left off in the last episode, we need to score more runs. We have an absolutely pitiful offense. We are the worst team in the American League at scoring runs. We have given up 478, which is 7th best, and then we've only scored 439. We've got ourselves like a Marlins-ass run differential here. So now, obviously, we have McKinney, who is out for 7 more weeks, who probably should be back for the playoffs, but it's also not like he was great for us when he was playing. But he is a bat that is going to come back at some point, and then Kelnick is currently on rehab. He'll be back in a couple days, so we don't need to, like, worry about improving Kelnick's spot. What we can do is try to pick up a corner outfielder, because do we really want to rely on Victor Luna and Miguel Soto for the rest of the season? Probably not. Kyle Lewis has been hitting quite well this season. He's got 26 bombs, and he's still got a couple months left to improve on his career high, which would be 31. So definitely a good season for Kyle Lewis here, who would probably he's going to shift back to either left or right once probably left once Kelnick comes back from the IL. So we could try to pick up a corner outfielder here. That's definitely something we could do. Because Luna could probably just go to being like a 4th outfielder bench bat instead of the guy who plays every day. If we pick ourselves up a corner outfielder, or even a guy that could be a 4th outfielder if Luna just goes off, you know. I don't mind sending Clase down if we pick up a good bat here. Also, we could definitely use an infield bat, probably, because Jeff McNeil, as we know, is not doing anything. That's a 45 WRC plus, not good at all, and it's among the worst I've ever seen. Michael Busch has been pretty solid as the DH. He's not really hitting any home runs, but he is, you know, he's getting on base a decent amount. He's been pretty solid. I mean, we don't have to improve on the DH spot, but we could if we wanted to, if we wanted to push him back and have him as more of a bench bat and have ourselves a DH in the lineup. So there's a couple spots, like I said, infield, corner outfield, possibly a DH type bat. There's a couple things we could improve here on the deadline. We just have to take a look and see. Hopefully we can make a trade for some of these guys somehow. I doubt we're going to be able to pick up like a big bat at the deadline because we just don't have the prospects to really do that anymore. But we could possibly try to pick up somebody like this on the trade block in this range. You know, I don't think I would go after Bader, just because we're trying to get a bat here, and he's like, you know, he's not really a bat. He had a couple around league average seasons. He had this really good season, but this year he is not. He's just straight defensive this year. Well, this makes me feel much better. I was going to say that maybe Trey Turner is just like, you know, tearing the cover off the ball at the Mets because we swapped him for Jeff McNeil. But no, Trey Turner's been not great either. Better than McNeill, but I mean, better than McNeill is still not good. I gotta say, absolutely none of these guys in the trade block are really interesting to me. The most interesting would be Bader, but he's really not what we're trying to go after here. Maybe we'll try to go after Xander Bogaerts in a Jerry Remy voice. Never mind, he exercises his rule right to veto any trade, so we cannot pick up Xander Bogaerts. Now hear me out on this one. I just shopped 2 of our prospects here, Simeon Woods Richardson and Connor Walsh, who is a former first-round pick who, you know, he's been not really that great in the minor leagues, but, you know, he's still like a 45 potential prospect, so he's got some value to him, just to see what these guys combined would get. And the Reds here are offering this TJ Friedl guy, who has a 2 WAR this season. You look at his stats, and he's had a really solid WRC plus throughout his entire career. He expects to be in the starting lineup. He's unhappy because of their record and his own performance. So he's unhappy with his 2 WAR performance, where he's slashing 282, 372, 447. Very odd. He's got some solid walk and strikeout rates here. You know, on paper, my scout and OSA don't really think too highly of him, but just for whatever reason, he's one of these guys who puts up numbers. Why he does that, I don't know, but I mean, he is $8 million, and he has 1 more year of arbitration left, or even a couple years he might. And we don't even have to give them those prospects. We can just give them literally nobodies for this guy, And he's a 2-WAR player. So, I mean, I feel like what's the downside here? I mean, we can give them this guy who the AI signed to fill in here at high A ball. This is extremely cheap, but we are literally giving them a 28-year-old that we have in low or regular A ball that the AI signed just to fill out the minor league system for this guy who has a 2-WAR at the major leagues with the Reds. So, and he's had a 2 up to 3 WAR for them the past few seasons. So, I mean, why not? Why not roll the dice on this guy? Let's see what we can get. And rather than sending down Soto, because he's the most recent one to come up, I'm actually going to send down Clase, because Soto is still going to be the backup infielder, while this Friedl guy plays left field. We're going to waive and DFA Baron Radcliffe here, just because, you know, he's 26, he got his shot in the bigs, wasn't really that great, probably not going to get much out of him. So TJ Friedl comes up to the major leagues. Here's something that could be something. JP Crawford. I just shopped Nick Margevicius just to see an idea of what we could possibly get if we wanted to get him. Now, maybe we don't trade Margevicius for Crawford. We could probably get something else for him, or trade something else for him. But obviously, we know that we traded JP Crawford to the Cleveland Spiders in Season 1 of this. Or in the offseason, I think. Yeah, in the offseason, he got on base a lot in 33 starts, and then he started the whole year at a 3 WAR. Then he started 96 games at a 2.3 WAR. And then this year, he's got a 2.2 WAR, as he has 88 starts, and he's very happy. So, JP Crawford, do we bring him back? He's signed through 2026, but it's 2 very cheap years. And he would obviously be like our second baseman the next, I don't know, the next 2 years, the rest of this year and the next year. I would be fine with that. I would be completely fine with having JP Crawford on our team next year as well, especially if he's going to be an around average league bat and he's playing some solid defense. I could get behind that. All right, I think we're going to do this JP Crawford trade. We're just going to trade Margevicius for him straight up, because I did some shopping around to see maybe they would be interested in trading for somebody else for him. But, you know, it would just be, I figured why not give them a reliever who is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he's just a reliever for us at this point. He is not having, like, an insane season, so we can easily just give up Margevicius, call somebody else up to be in the bullpen, and then send down a middle infielder to, or an infielder to make room for JP Crawford on the roster. So we still have 8 guys in the bullpen right now, so that's still fine. We're just going to keep rolling with that. And then Mcneill's kind of just on the spot on the roster as just like a guy now. So Soto is going to be like the backup corner infielder, and Rocchio will become the bench second baseman, while JP Crawford takes over at second. All right, I think that's all we're gonna do here. Those are the moves we're making. We pick up TJ Friedl, however you say this guy's name, as a corner infield bat, and then we also pick up JP Crawford to come back onto the team and hopefully be a solid defensive second baseman, as well as being a decent bat for us. All right, Kelnick's had 4 AAA games. He's ready. He's hitting. We're just going to bring him back. And we're going to send down both Soto and Luna. And we're going to do it. We're going to call up Austin Shenton. We're going to see what he... Oh, we need to make room in the 40-man. And I think we're just going to take Soto off the 40-man. My scat's not very high on him, neither is OSA. It looks like he had more of a fluke season in AAA this year. I doubt he gets claimed either, so Miguel Soto is going to get waived and DFA'd to make room on the 40-man for Austin Shenton. So here's what we're going to be rolling with here in the major leagues. Not the most ideal thing here with the backup outfield situation, but we're just going to roll with it and see how it is for a bit. Well, let's just say the first game went pretty well. First game for Austin Shenton in Oakland, we win 11-7. And Shenton went 2 for 4, drove in 3 runs. He had a triple, and it looks like the other one was a single. So just a great game for Austin Shenton in his first Major League game. And I'm also seeing here that Brian Rocchio has been very bad as of recently, so we're just going to send him down to AAA and call up Keith Ron Moss. Get the transactions flowing. What are they going to do with him in the lineup? Bam, I like that. Let's keep that. Bada bing, bada boom. Alrighty, so Miguel Soto did end up getting claimed by both Washington and Cincinnati. Well, that's fine. They can have him. Miguel Soto's going to go to a different organization. Alrighty, so Justin Dunn just suffered an injury setback. Not great for him. He now has 2 more weeks left on his injury. I was hoping that he'd probably be back pretty decently soon, even though he hasn't been great this year. I would like to see him try to rebound the rest of the year. But he's got 2 more weeks on his injury now. Alrighty, Justin Dunn is now eligible to come off the IL, so we're going to throw him onto a rehab assignment, get geared back up, ready to get into big leagues. As you can see here, we're not playing well. We're 64 and 63, 7.5 games out of the AL West, 3.5 games, or no, 4 games out of the wild card. 406 in our last 10. It's just not going well. Some of these losses recently have been real bad, too. Just getting absolutely shellacked by the Orioles. Just losing a series to Cleveland. Lost a 2-game set with the Mets. And then before that, we were on a run. We swept, or no, we took a 3 out of 4 from Cleveland there. Took a 2-game set against Oakland. Took a split a 4-game set with Texas. And then we split a set with Houston, won a series against Oakland. Yeah, so we were on a bit of a run there, and then we just immediately fucked it all up with this run we've been on recently. All right, so Mason Bryant has not been great in the 7 2/3 that he's been up in the big leagues for. CJ Van Eyck also has not been great in the 27 innings he's been up for, so we're definitely going to be sending CJ Van Eyck back down to AAA. Justin Dunn has not gotten any more rehab game. He hasn't gotten any rehab games in yet, so we're obviously not going to call him back up yet. But Brandon Williamson is a guy that we are going to bring back up to the big leagues here. And I just feel like the Shenton experience is not really working, so we're going to send him back down to AAA as well. And we're going to get Clase back up to the big leagues here. He's been 78 ABs in AAA. He's been getting on base a ton. Obviously not hitting for any power, but I just feel like Clase is our best option that we have in AAA as an outfielder, so he's going to come up to be the 4th outfielder. Both Bryant and Pridgeon have been struggling a bit here recently, but we are just going to keep them through it here. And more, maybe I'm going to send down Bryant. It's only 7 innings, though. He is walking too many guys. He's also striking out guys, though. Yeah, we're going to send down Mason Bryant. And then you would think maybe we'd call Aquino up, but Aquino has not been good in AAA either this season, so he is not a guy who's going to be coming back up. We're going to bring Zach Pop back up to the big leagues here. He's had a pretty good season here in 2025 in AAA, and we're going to reward him by bringing him back up to the big leagues. I don't like the fact that he's a right-handed specialist, but we'll just deal with it, and we'll keep that as the the bullpen and the rotation. All right, so Brian Perez just got a sore shoulder for a week. And rather than just having him pitch through that for 1 start, we're just going to throw him on the IL. He'll miss 1 start, and then he'll come back. And Justin Dunn has had 2 starts down in AAA now. He hasn't had the greatest starts in AAA, but we are just going to throw him back with the big leagues here and just hope he figures it back out. This is what the arms look like in the big leagues now. And then the lineups are Keith Ron Moss is actually the starting 3rd baseman now, as we're rolling with that to see how this is going to go the rest of the year. As things are not looking good right now. We're at 2nd place in the division, but we're 7 games back, and then we're 5 games out of the wild card. So, like I said, things not looking good. Alrighty, and now it's time for roster expansion here. I believe we just won back-to-back games as well. We did. We won back-to-back games against Baltimore, both 2-1 wins. If you're wondering how G. Allen in AAA is going, it's about as bad as it can be. So we're going to send G. Allen back down to AA. I guess we'll leave him there. I don't know. But yeah, not great in AAA. And we're going to call Brian Rocchio back up to the big leagues here as the extra bat. And we're actually going to bring up Jay Groom to the big leagues here in September just to see what he is. He's probably not, he's not going to be able to be on the playoff roster if we make the playoffs, but I just want to get him up in the big leagues here in September, and in order to make room on the roster, we're actually going to DFA Ding Bong Che, as he is just my scat's not high on him anymore. He's just not an option. That was a bad signing on my part. So Jay Groom up to the big leagues. All right, not great there. Ryder Jones has now gotten a strained abdominal muscle. The thing about Ryder Jones is he has actually been a backup for us right now. So we're just going to throw him on, I might even throw on the 60, man, just to make sure he doesn't come back and we have to, like, make room for him. So yeah, 60-day IL, Ryder Jones, see ya, don't need ya, goodbye. And we're just going to call Austin Shenton back up just to get another bat in the big league, so why not? So we finally just lost here as we went on a pretty good run. If we look at our last 10, we are 9-1 in our last 10. We're up to 3 games out of the West, and we are a half game back in the wild card. And if we just look at the most, we just lost to Houston 8-3, but then we, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was 7 straight running off from roster expansion here up to this most recent game against Houston. So we like I said, we just want a bit of run there. Let's see if we can keep it up. Alrighty, so we decided to follow up that run, making up all that ground by losing 4 straight to the Astros and not making up any more ground on the Astros, just being back where we were 6 games back in the West. And now 2.5 back in the wild card. Just fantastic, wonderful. And now Billy McKinney is back, so we can throw him on the old rehab assignment. And so is Brian Perez, and we're just going to bring him right back out to the big leagues here. We are going to send down Zach Pop, just because he's never playing, because he's a right-handed specialist. So here's what the rotation and bullpen looks like now that Perez is back and Pop is down. Oh my god, he comes back, pitches in 1 game, and tears his UCL. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Brian Perez. I figured he'd be fine coming back from that and just, you know, missing 1 start and coming back, but I guess not. I guess not. He throws 1 game. We win that game, but he comes in, throws 1 game, and he I don't even know what to say. He frickin' tears his UCL. So Brian Perez is out for the rest of the season and a very, very large chunk of next season. We're also going to send down Shenton and just bring Billy McKinney back up, because why not bring him up to the major leagues again, have himself as an outfielder and a bat. And then we're just going to bring Juan Fenn back up to the big leagues just because, I don't know, just get back him up there. It is September 19th. We are 2.5 games out of a wild card spot, 3 games out of the division. We have a series against Philly coming up here. 3-game set, then we've got a 3-game set against Texas, then a 3-game set against Houston to end the season. So, I mean, we really need to win these games. We really need to win these series, especially that last series against Houston. Alrighty, apparently I just got my 500th win in this save, so congratulations to Warren Zevon. Alrighty, so we just won that series against Philly, dropped the first one, but then followed it up with a 14-6 and a 6-0 win. Now we've got a 3-game set against Texas coming up at home. This is a 60-96 team, so we should be able to beat up on these guys. And we did just that against the Texas Rangers. We lost the first game 1-0 in just a tightly pitched game, 13 Ks through 7 innings for Logan Gilbert. We just couldn't score any runs against this Yoendris Gomez guy in their bullpen. And now it is time for the real test. We've got a 3-game set against Houston here at home. We're 4 games back in the division, and we're currently at tied for the 2nd spot in the wild card here. So these are extremely, extremely important games. Okay, a bit of a double-edged sword here as we win the first game 3-1 over Houston, but Novi Marte, I still don't know how to say his first name. Marte is diagnosed with a torn hamstring. He's out for 5 to 6 weeks. And this is a guy who, once again, has been good at the plate this season for us, as well as a defensive stud for us. So, not great there. So if we make the playoffs, we're going to be without Marte, because what else would it be if we're with these Mariners if we go into the playoffs fully healthy? That can't be a thing. We can't have a playoffs with our team actually intact. And we really don't have any other decent defensive backup infielders that we would be trusted to play second or shortstop for us. So Bonacci is going to be the guy to come up, because we just don't really have anybody else. All the other guys are like DH, like corner infield types. Bonacci, we're just banking on the fact that maybe he could tap into something from the past 2 seasons if he ends up playing a game, which he probably won't here. But he was not good at all in AAA this year. So here's what the lineups look like against righties. It's JP Crawford at shortstop now. Rocchio comes into play second. and then it's the same thing against lefties. Let's go! We've clinched a playoff spot as we have taken the first 2 games of this Houston set, 3-1, and then 5-3, and now we're just playing with house money here as we have secured a spot in the wild card against who else but the Kansas City Royals, a rematch of last year's ALCS, but this time it's going to be a 1-game set. We don't have any anything at stake here in this last game of the season here against Houston. Alrighty, so we dropped the game 6-5 to the Astros, but like I said, it was a meaningless game. We still have our playoff spot clinched. Juan Then only made 2 1/3, and then Newsom came in, got rocked. Dean, Pridgeon, Groom, and Mills all pitched. But yeah, we just wanted to avoid Logan Gilbert starting this game. We did just that, so he's going to be ready to go for the wild card game here, as we have secured that spot. Against the Royals, it's going to be in Kansas City, and the playoffs have begun here for the 2025 season. It looks like Mike Soroka won the ERA crown in the American League. We need to set our playoff roster here. Before we do that, let's take a look at what the playoff tree looks like. Royals, Mariners are the wildcard teams in the American League. Cardinals, Braves are the wildcard. Looks like the Marlins won their division. Brewers and Dodgers. The Orioles are the best team in the American League, and the Astros and Spiders are taking it out in the ALDS other round. Wow, the Marlins are the best team in the National League? That is wild. So yeah, here's a look at the standings. The 97-win Orioles were the best in the American League. Then it was Spiders, Royals, Astros, Mariners. Blue Jays, White Sox, and Angels all just barely missed out in the wildcard spot because we somehow got it done with a 7-3 last 10 stretch down the last 10 games of the season. And then the American League, or the National League, you had the Marlins with 101 wins, a 99-win wildcard Braves team, then Brewers and Cardinals, Dodgers, and then the Mets missed out on the... I think the Mets missed out on a... Didn't they miss out last year by 1 game, I want to say? I think in this series at some point they missed out in the playoffs by 1 game and they did it again. And here it is. This is what the arms look like heading into the playoffs. Soroka, Gilbert, and then Key. This should probably be done for the rotation. The bullpen is Delaplane, Mills. They have Dunn as a setup guy. Fletcher, Then, Newsom, Williamson, Dean, Garabitos, and Pridgeon. And then on the lineup side of thing is Dingler at catcher, White at first, Rockio at second, Moss at third, J.P. Crawford at short, Friedl in left with McKinney on the bench, Kelnick in center, Lewis in right, and then Bush is DHing with Clase as like the backup defensive infielder. Or backup defensive outfielder. And we've even got Jeff McNeil on the bench, which I doubt he really ever plays. So yeah, we actually do need Jeff McNeil to be on the playoff roster. So after all, this is what the lineups are going to be looking like in the playoffs here. And now let's go over what our team did in this season. We'll just stay with the bats here if we sort by WAR. Jared Kelnick, not a 9-WAR season like he had last yeah, he had an 8-WAR season, so basically a 9-WAR season. He had a 6-WAR season this year. Still extremely good. 36 home runs, 20 doubles, 22 stolen bags. Very solid season. Extremely solid. I mean, you can't really ask for much more. You can't expect him to have an 8-WAR every single year. But he carried our team yet again. Then we've got TJ Friedl here, who did most of his production with the Reds. Predictable, we trade for this guy who's been really good throughout the entire save. He comes to us for 51 games, and he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to hit anymore. Because, you know, classic stuff. But he's our left fielder in the playoffs here. We got Kyle Lewis, who had a solid season, very much better offensively than the past 2 seasons. He had 35 home runs, which is his career high. He's hit 20-plus the entire time we've had him, except for 19 the first year, where he only played 104 games. But yeah, just he's been a very consistent player, honestly. Even when he had the 89 WRC plus seasons, I mean, those are, you know, it's not too big of a difference there. He's always been around of a 2-WAR player. Then we've got J.P. Crawford, who we got back, and once again, another guy who came over and decided to just stop hitting once he came over to our team. Why was he hitting with Cleveland and not us? Who knows? Then Evan White actually had a bit of a down year this year. Still a league average hitting season. He had 24 home runs, 37 doubles, 170 hits, but, you know, just not, he didn't get on base nearly enough as he usually does. But hopefully he's able to turn that around here in the playoffs. We've also got Dylan Dingler, who is our catcher, who he actually did hit once he came over. 118 WRC+. Not a big power guy, but he got the job done. He got hits. He's our catcher. Definitely probably better to be a catcher for... He's better as our catcher than Cal Raleigh was. So that's good to see. Dingler actually doing things. Keith Ron Moss took over at third base towards the end of the season like he did last year, and he finished with like a just barely below league average WRC+. Hopefully he's able to be pretty solid in the playoffs. And we've got Brian Rocchio, who's now our starting second baseman, and in 90... or no, that's AAA. In 365 ABs in the major leagues, not a great year for him, but he's really our best option at second base. Then there's Michael Bush, who's at DH, and he... you know, barely... Oh, no, this is 2025. So he, yeah, not a great season, probably because of the power numbers. Need more power from a guy who's going to be a DH. My scout and OSA think he has league average power. Definitely not league average power production. So hopefully maybe that picks up in the playoffs here. And then there's Clase, who got a few games in as the backup outfielder. MJ Melendez was okay as the backup catcher, and Billy McKinney was hurt for quite a bunch of the season, and then also wasn't good when he played. So not good to see there. And then we all know Jeff McNeil here, the just, you know, bad. Really, 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 really bad. Of course, he went from being a guy, like, look at this. Just look at the absurdity of these stats. Like, look at his WAR his entire time with the Mets from 2020 through 2024. Extremely, extremely solid player. He comes to us, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to stop hitting. I'm never going to do anything. It's just incredible. Incredible. And then on the pitching side of things, if we sort by WAR, Mike Soroka, a 5 WAR season for him. The best that he's had as a member of our team. As we said, he has the ERA crown, a 2.61 ERA in the American League this year. Extremely solid, what we kind of expected from bringing on Soroka. Logan Gilbert has been very good as a starter this year. Another 3 WAR season for him. He's Mr. 3 WAR, that's what he does. He's also probably going to be starting the wild card game here, assuming Soroka's not ready for it. Then we've also got Sam Delaplane, who had a 2 WAR as the closer, finished 54 games. Just extremely solid year. That's probably going to end up being a reliever of the year. Nathaniel Garabitos, who he brought up from AAA, had an extremely solid... I mean, look at this. He had a 14.5 K per 9. That's 99 Ks through 61 and a third. 128 ERA plus, a 636 OPS against. Just very solid from Garabitos coming up from AAA. Wyatt Mills, you know, not as good of a season as he usually has. He wasn't the closer this year, as he wasn't last year, but still very solid year from Wyatt Mills. Can always trust him. Aaron Fletcher was solid against lefties, as we expect from him. Patrick Pridgeon kind of struggled a bit towards the end, but his FIP is still looking pretty good. His OPS against isn't bad either, and he still strikes out a ton of guys. So Pridgeon, first year in the bigs, I guess I'll take that. We saw Justin Dunn has been turning things around here. His ERA was in like the 7s or 8s, wasn't it? And now it's much better as he's been really good in September, which is good to see. We also got Jacob Key, who had a pretty solid year, 32 starts, a 4 ERA. Exactly 100 ERA plus. Not a great OPS against. Looks like he actually had the lowest walk per 9 rate, which is good to see, with his 75 control. Then we've got LJ Newsome, who was split time between a rotation and in the bullpen, and he was fine. Nothing to brag about, but he was fine. Brandon Williamson had 5 starts. Wasn't that great in his 5 starts, but he's on the roster nonetheless. And then there's Juan Then, who is up as well, who didn't really get much time in September, but he is here. And then there's also Dean, who also not great. Not a great year for Dean with his... it struck out a bunch of guys, but he gave up way too many home runs. So definitely not what you want to see from Dean there. And now if we take a look around the league at the rest of the players, we've got Vladdy Guerrero Jr. led the league in average by quite a wide margin. Joey Gallo, who is now a Houston Astro, had 56 bombs. He's finally on a winning team here. as him and Vladdy actually at 56, Bellinger at 54, Matt Olson at 53. Just AL West is all over this. Harper, Ryan Mountcastle, ton of runs driven in for Vladdy. OBP was Noah Myers from Kansas City, who we are going to be facing. We'll do more of a deep dive into Kansas City's roster this year in the wild card video, which will be the next episode once we finish off going over the rest of these league leader stats. So yeah, Vladdy Guerrero, Bregman, Tatis, and Alex Kirilloff. I forget how you say his name. I know he's a really good prospect, though. All had 1,000+ OPS in the in Major League Baseball this year. The highest WAR was Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Was he at first base? Wow. I mean, you got to have an incredible offensive season. I did not mean to back up on that. But you got to have an incredible offensive season to have a 9 WAR as a first baseman. That's incredible. Evan White was 3rd in ABs because the guy never, ever gets hurt. Hits leader was Vladdy with 234. Kirilloff had the most doubles with 54. I mean, we had 3 guys with 50 doubles. It's insane. Stolen bases was Bryce Terang from the Brewers. What else do we got here? What else do we got here in this list, eh? Kyle Lewis struck out a bunch. That's to be expected. That's what we expect from Kyle Lewis at this point. That, and then also putting up a 2 WAR. What else do we have here? OPS Plus was Vladdy. Weighted on OBA was Vladdy. I wonder who's going to win the MVP in the American League. And then we move things over to the pitching side of things. And it's, wow. Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara. The top 2 guys in the NL were both Marlins. No wonder why they were the best team in the big leagues this year. Then Mike Soroka, the best ERA in the American League. The top 3 guys were all National League guys, and then it's Soroka. Another National League guy, another National League guy, and then it's, yeah, so nobody was even close to Soroka in the American League. Was also 5th in wins, which doesn't really matter, but, you know, still there. And then the saves leaders, Markland of the Royals, who we saw in the playoffs last year, and then Sam Delaplane was number 2. So Delaplane, he's probably gonna, what was Markland's WAR? I mean, they might give it to Markland, but I would not be surprised if Delaplane ends up winning reliever of the year in the American League. The 6th best WAR for pitchers was Mike Soroka. There's that David John Hers guy from Chicago with just an incredible WAR. That's going to be... Oh, that's the National League anyways. So yeah, Luzardo had a higher WAR, and so did Bieber. So Soroka's going to have some competition here for the Cy Young, probably with Luzardo and Bieber. But Soroka's got the innings pitch title and the ERA title, so that probably is going to help push him over here. Not many high strikeouts, though. That was this guy, Volante Belozo from Houston, led the league in strikeouts, and then David John Hers. And then there's Luzardo and Bieber. Yeah, so they just struck out way more guys than Soroka, who's not a big strikeout pitcher. Jacob Key was 7th in strikeouts to walk ratio. He was also 3rd in the most amount of home runs given up. That's not good to see. But he was also 3rd in the lowest walks per 9, which is best in the American League because the other 2 guys are National League guys. You also had Soroka had the 3rd best ERA+. The only other guys above him were the Miami starters of Pablo Lopez and Sandy Alcantara. The lowest BABIP was actually Jack Leiter, Al Leiter's son, who was their closer, apparently. Well, he's their closer, I guess, for, like, their series. I guess, well, he had 33 starts. Is that how deep their rotation is? Is they have that guy just being like, yeah, he's in the bullpen now because we got too many starters for the playoffs. That's just absurd. He also had the lowest opponent's average, and they're just like, yeah, he's our closer. He's our closer for the playoffs. Just absurd, man. And then Soroka actually had the 2nd most quality starts in all of baseball. Only Jesus Luzardo had the most, and then Pablo Lopez was tied with Soroka. But yeah, we will pick things up for the next episode as we take on the Kansas City Royals in the wild card game in the next one.